Hello, world, and welcome to this week's episode of Golf Subpar. I am Colt Knost, joined, as always, by the one, the only, the Sleazy Man.
Yeah,
our next guest.
Here we go.
I mean, arguably was one of the most famous people in the world when he was playing college football down at Texas A&M. Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, was kind enough to come in and sit down with us. I was excited about this interview. We've been working hard to try to get this one.
Yeah, this is one I'm excited for. I mean, we saw Manziel Mania, all the hype that came around him, and like getting his story, and he was so forthcoming, so willing to talk to us. Like, I think this interview, we'll recap it afterwards, but like, I was really looking forward to it, and it didn't disappoint.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to Johnny Manziel here on Golf Subpar.
All right, you all know our next guest. We're very excited to bring him on. He is Heisman Trophy winner, one of the most recognizable nicknames in all of sports. And on top of that, Colt carries a 2 handicap, which I think me and you know is bullshit by now at this point. But here he is, Johnny Manziel in the building. How we doing, brother?
What's up, baby?
Good to be with
Johnny,
you, bro.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks
We
for
mentioned
joining
that
us.
little
Always.
2-piece, so we showed up. We played a little golf recently, texting some of your boys, some of the guys you're playing with around town. Hey, what's his game like? What's a fair game? All this. Like, he's a scratch. He's really good. His last rounds are 71, 72, 72, whatever. We get up on the first tee when we're all playing together, and you're like, yeah, I'm a 2. I'm a 2, maybe 3. I felt like a bit of a hustle at that point.
Well, it's weird. You guys already know your handicaps. Mine fluctuates. You know, some days you shoot 80, some days you shoot 70. It moves a little bit. Like, I'm a normal, like, average golfer that plays 6-7 days a week.
Yeah, normal average golfer that plays 7 days
36
a
a day
Love
for a
that.
month. Yeah.
You got some speed, though. I'll give you that.
I'm not gonna lie. The Rock kind of tore me up the day we went out.
It
to
got
the
you a
Rock.
little bit.
It was been playing the Leaf and been playing some other places around, and found my way, working through these places pretty easy. And then I got to the Rock, and it humbled me a little bit for sure.
But
A little tighter than the Leaf.
yeah.
Definitely a little bit tighter than the Leaf. I probably like the Leaf a little bit better, but I love the Rock. It was a great
You were
experience.
probably a little nervous playing with 2 superstars like myself.
Yeah,
and
you
the
knew you were
Sleaze.
coming on and all
I mean,
that.
you only hit it like 225, 215. Like
Shit's clean, though, isn't it?
Get him.
No, it's clean.
It's clean.
Super, just once he gets the hybrid of the wood in his hand, he's money. But from there, it's like the driver starts coming backwards a little bit at times.
I'd rather see Colt with the 6-iron than the hybrid. If 4 hybrid comes out, I'm like, fuck, guys, we got stress right now. We need to get him up. We need to play up a tee, get him that 6-iron.
I've been seeing some good Colt highlights though. It's, some PGA highlights they came out with. He had a little hole-in-one I saw the other day.
Yeah, Quail Hollow.
Quail, yeah.
Back in the day, miracle shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty locked into the golf game, so when you pop up, I'm like, I can just tell just from the body stature exactly.
Who's on screen? Yeah.
You like curves, I hear.
Yeah,
Anything.
Yeah, a little thick with 2 C's. But, dude, your golf game is good. Let's get in a little golf. Your golf game is good. And I know when we played the other day, you mentioned, like, obviously you're playing a little bit of football back in high school, dabbling in football. But you did play some golf at time, like when the season allowed for it in high school.
Yeah, no, my dad taught me from like 5 years old. It was one of those things that lived on a golf course my whole life growing up. He says, you can't go hang out with your friends in different neighborhoods or go be a hoodlum around pretty much the streets, but you can take the golf cart anytime you want, go grab a bag of balls and go wear yourself out anytime. So that's kind of how I grew up. Hated it. I'm not going to lie. I did not like it. Like, I was playing travel baseball, football was coming into my life, and golf was just kind of something that my dad taught me to do on the side. When I got to my second year in Cleveland, I moved from downtown and went and got on a golf course and then started playing, every 30, 45 minutes I would get in the afternoon out of practice. Fell in love with it again. And then, for the last year and a half, I'm probably playing minimum 4 days a week.
When you were in Cleveland, was that kind of just like an escape, just to get away from football, get away so nobody bothers you or anything like that?
Yeah, it was great. I had 2 memberships out there. Me and J.R. Smith, of all people, would be walking.
Dude, he loves
Tell me
it.
more about you.
These courses all the time in Cleveland, and people would just be looking at us like we're crazy. We're both top buttoned all the way to the top, covered in tattoos, just like looking like, not your standard country club, looking guys. But, it's kind of been an escape for me, especially now. It's, not playing. It's a chance for me to go out and compete. I have nobody to be mad at myself at the end of the day other than me. And, I haven't got to the point where I'm grinding it, but I'm definitely, taking it from like a 6-7 like handicap to like getting to where I feel like I'm supposed to go out and shoot around par every day.
What's the goal in golf for Johnny Manziel?
That's a great question. I mean, for me, this is something that I've like really dove into the last year and like fully in love with it. going out and playing 36 or 50 holes in a day and just going around and around and playing and playing and
Just
playing
50 burger.
is like it's a great time. I'm not getting any better like I would be, sitting and practicing. So I'm kind of to the point now where I kind of want to take it to another level and get to a point where I can go, start shooting in the 60s more often and actually be what I consider being a good golfer.
Are you trying to get into like these, like they got Tahoe, right? The celebrity events. They got the one in Florida, Diamond Resorts or whatever. Like you're trying to play, like, cause like I play with you now. I play with the guys that have won it. Like you're headed in that direction. Do you want to play those?
No, 100%. I want to do more things like that, and it's different. Playing with a guy who's played on the PGA Tour and then playing, against guys like DJ over here. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different vibe to it sometimes, but just getting comfortable playing with everybody. And the group of guys we have here since I've been in Scottsdale has been fun, competitive. We have a game every day, and I think it's it's making me a better golfer for sure.
There's a lot of good players out here.
No doubt.
I said when I moved from Dallas, I was like, my bank account took a hit because in Dallas I could show up and play with all my buddies and they sucked and I just wear them out. Out here, you got a tour player, it seems like, in every game you play, and it's the real deal.
Oh, it's fun though. I mean, I've learned a lot just about the game, seeing how guys approach certain shots or certain things, set up, just a lot of things that I didn't see. In Texas, coming out here, you see a caliber of golf and a caliber of golf course. It's really high. Either one of you tell me when's the last time you got a bad lie in Scottsdale.
Yeah, that's true.
You also get, like, playing where I went to school in Fort Worth, right? Like, you go down there, there's no grass, there's no nothing. You come out here, the wind blows more than 10. You're like, nah, I'm out of here. I'll wait for tomorrow. It'll be blowing 0.
Yeah, I went and played in West Texas in Midland, and, like, you hit a ball down the middle of the fairway, and you go, and it's, like, 2 inches to your right, it's perfect grass, and then there's this little hole, like, full of, like, rock-hard dirt. Out here, we're spoiled. If you miss the green, it's probably easier to chip than it is to putt on some of these greens.
For sure.
out here.
It's we definitely get spoiled out here in Scottsdale. But I want to talk a little bit of football with you. I mean, you were obviously destined for superstardom coming out of high school. I mean, you were compared to the likes of Brett Favre, Michael Vick, Drew Brees. Was that something you like kind of welcomed, or did that kind of overwhelm you as a young kid?
I think I ignored a lot of it. I was with a really good high school program, small town in the middle of nowhere outside of San Antonio. It was just strict. It's military style type of thing where, everybody is equal to everybody, and that changes once you get to a different level in collegiate and pro sports. Obviously, your higher end best guys get treated a little bit differently than everybody else. But being in high school, I think I just had a good base of being taught, how to handle certain things, block things out, and just be another one of the guys. So, until I got to college and things really blew up, I'd never really crept into my mind whatsoever.
But, dude, your high school, like, from what I've read, your status in high school, like, it's been written that you had folk hero status in high school. Like, that's where Johnny Football, from what I understand, like, that nickname was developed. You were the dude. Like, when I think of Texas high school football, I think of, like, Varsity Blues, right? Johnny Mox, all that. Like, you were Johnny Mox and you were Lance Harbor. Like, what's it like being a kid in high school and you're doing everything? Like, what's this level of celebrity like in your hometown there?
Small retirement town 40 miles west of Kerrville. It wasn't this, superstar, but just the energy for the whole team, going to state semifinals 2 years in a row, sophomore and junior year. When we would go travel places or go play in San Antonio, like, we brought on a pretty good crowd. So, I mean, I really enjoyed, my time playing there, and probably, worked out the best that I was in that area, playing in that area, that ended up getting me to A&M.
Yeah, well, you originally committed to Oregon. What the hell were you thinking?
Quack, quack is what I was thinking. You seen those jerseys after the
they're sick,
there's a lot of
that's
flag
so
gear.
far away, and that's
that's
the Northwest.
eventually once I sat back down after Chip Kelly offered me when I was in Oregon. I kind of sat back down. I was like, my parents have to go to Austin from here, Austin to Portland, Portland to Eugene. It was just a nightmare. And to be honest, I didn't have very many good offers in the state of Texas.
Well, I'm an SMU Mustang, and I know June Jones was there, and he was all about Johnny Football. He told me he was all about you since you were a sophomore in high school, has been begging you to come play in his offense for years. Couldn't say nicer things about you.
I loved him. We spent time together in Canada way, down the road, after the college part. I just don't think I could have seen myself going to a school that gets beat by 30 every week.
Yeah, should have saved some of that Pony Express money for the Manziel Express.
I mean,
dude.
there's
They're
this
all
highlight on
up.
Instagram the other day of him running down the field at SMU. I'm like, come on, man.
I saw that. Made like
you got to
19
do that.
dudes.
That'll
Yes.
forever it hit my memory as a comeback, the first breakout game. Really kind of let people know what's
Very
up.
happy for you.
That's a
No,
good
it's all
team to
good.
do it against, dude. That's a good team to do it. But when
Sitting
you're
in this room,
when you're in
yeah.
high school and you're doing all the things that you're doing, you're winning every single award, in the state of Texas, which is the biggest state in the country for high school football. Did you imagine like there's got to be some doubt like, hey, I'm great here. I'm great in small town Texas. Like, am I great in the country? Did you expect to do what you did like going into high school or going into college?
I think getting out of high school, I was just like, wow, I get to be on my own and do whatever I want. If I want to go to McDonald's at midnight, I can do it without having to ask my parents. It was like my initial like get out of the house. I graduated early, and I went to A&M. You know, I skipped my spring senior year and went ahead and graduated early, and I loved it. I just dove right in, followed the older guys' lead, and never really was like that huge of an expectation, even with what I did in high school. It was just kind of like, here's another good high school player that's going to a big school. Let's see if he figures it out. And no, I'm not gonna lie, I sunk my first year and a half. People always look at my freshman year being a big year. My red shirt time in between me actually starting was, I wouldn't say a nightmare, but it was definitely a transition period for sure.
Well, things transitioned pretty quickly.
Once you
did get in there. Like, what was it like? I mean, you literally became one of the most famous people on the planet in the span of like 24 hours after that first massive game you had. What was that like? I mean, you're at Texas A&M, probably nobody really bothered you, and then all of a sudden this happens, and now you're known around the world. What was it like for you?
It really happened after the Alabama game. You get back from that game, you go to class on the Monday afterwards, and it's like couldn't walk across campus, get somebody to finally come get me, golf cart me across campus. And then, from there it was kind of like a hiding game almost. Anytime I did go out or did do anything, it was portrayed in a negative light, and it was all over the place. And then I just had to get to a point where I tried to kind of hide from it a little bit. And the next semester, I took all online classes. I didn't go on campus at all other than the football facility. So, it was definitely a transition process for that, as well as my parents, too, who were living in College Station at the time.
Was that cool for you? Like, I mean, cool. Like, you're taking online classes. You can't go to class because you get mobbed by, like, fellow students. Is that, like, for a kid from small town Texas coming up, like, oh, my God, all of a sudden I'm at, like, God status on campus in College Station. Was that cool, or were you like, this sucks?
Fame is a funny thing. And I think anybody that kind of goes through it on like a really high magnitude, will say this. It's a super double-edged sword, right? You have the one thing that you're like, okay, when I'm a kid looking at a poster or, watching, the 05 Masters of Tiger Woods or something, you're like, I want to do this. This is what I want to be. I want to be that rock star. And then when you get there, like we're seeing unfold in The Last Dance a little bit right now, is like, when you're at the top, it's not always the best to be at the top. Like, there's a lot that comes with it in a negative way as well. So, I had the initial, like, this is super, super lit. Like, I can do anything I want. I can go anywhere. I can get on Twitter and hit up any athlete I would have ever thought about, wanting to meet. And I met some great people that way. But at the same time that you're looking out, people are looking in on your glass box too.
And you're 20, 19?
18
at the time. I remember when, like, Manziel Mania, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, came out. I remember, like, I'm as far removed as you can be. I'm out of college. I'm out here in Arizona. And, like, all of a sudden after the Alabama game, it was like you couldn't turn on the TV without being like, yo, here's this kid in College Station going ham.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, we had a good team. You look at the guys now who I played with when I was there. Jake Matthews just signed a, max deal with the Falcons. Mike Evans. Like, I had guys around me that were, beasts. Luke Jokel was the second pick in the draft the year before me. Like, I had great experiences in college football that I wouldn't give back for anything in the world. And I think that's what, I kind of expected, the same type of camaraderie and the same type of thing when I got to the NFL. And it's just not that. And I think that's probably what, like, shell-shocked me a little bit when I got there.
So you're an 18-year-old kid going around Texas A&M campus, the biggest deal there is. Around.
Normal stuff.
What's the coolest thing you got to experience? I mean, there's obviously a lot of negatives. You couldn't go anywhere because you get attacked everywhere. But what's some of the coolest things you got to experience when you're in college?
I remember going to a college football award show in Miami. We got to go if you won the O'Brien or the Blitnikoff or the major individual awards in college football. You got to go to Miami for 3 or 4 days. I remember landing and having all these people from Live and different like clubs like going out, and all these other guys who were in college were like, yo, what are we doing tonight? Going to some like the hotel bar downstairs and trying to sneak like a pack of beer. I remember like being 18 years old and like doing South Beach the way you're kind of like supposed to do South Beach at like 25 when you make enough money to kind of do it the right way. And it kind of spoiled me for the rest of
For your life.
Well, my college 21st, I'd leave, get on a PJ and go to Vegas for my 21st and then go back and catch class on Monday.
Standard.
It's normal.
Just normal shit. Colt was like that. Colt was a big deal at SMU, bro. You guys probably had a lot of similar experiences.
I mean, the money at SMU, like, look at this guy just oozing money.
True.
You should have seen what Colt drove in college, dude. Raised a lot of red flags. You know how that NCAA
Got stolen once, actually.
You know how that NCAA is. When you're going through this, dude, you're talking about like going to Miami, you're flying on PJs to Vegas, and then coming back and got class the next morning. Sounds like online class, but you still got class, whatever it is. Was there ever a moment? And by the way, you got rappers shouting you out in songs. Like, you were the freaking everywhere, right? Was there ever a moment where you were like, holy shit, I can't believe this is like, is this real life? Like, this is fast.
Yeah, the crazy story about how I met Drake was, I'm buying sweatshirts in my, dorm room off of octobersveryown.com. I'd probably played like 4 or 5 games into my first year. I get an email back from somebody like on the team. Yo, bro, we appreciate you reaching out, supporting, not asking for it like most people in your position would do. Continued the relationship with this dude back and forth. At the end of the, summer, I end up going to Toronto, going up there, flying up there. Literally watched him drop probably 3 or 4 songs, kept this relationship going. And I remember one time driving through downtown Toronto and being in the back of this Phantom with Drake and just kind of looking around like, I'm a kid from Kerrville, Texas, in the middle of the nowhere, sitting in Toronto, riding around with the biggest. It was the only person I ever wanted to meet. So it was just kind of that thing, like, I went after people that not necessarily went after, but like wanted to attach myself and like meet people that like were truly the biggest thing in the world to me. And sitting there doing that, like being in college and having to go back for my like second training camp, a week later, was like, all right. Everybody else is kind of sitting in College Station, like in their dorm room. I'm sitting here at the Four Seasons in Toronto, chilling.
Yeah, that's a different deal. Is that how it started with like you and Drake? Like everybody knows you got the Al, you got the OVO. And then, are you guys still boys?
Yeah. I mean, we still talk here and there. Like, whenever I get a chance, I've been to probably 50 shows. Got a chance to go see him in Paris. Bounced around a little bit with them over there, and been to probably another 20 shows here. Like. Great friend off of, something that happened 18 at the, height of my, football kind of stardom. But, the cool thing about this and the thing that I like the most about what fame has kind of brought me has been the people I meet, right? The days that just us playing golf that one day, that'll always have a, lasting memory in, my head. Good people. You meet enough people in this game, you're bound to meet some bad ones. So when you find people that you connect with, and you like, you remember it forever. I'm all about, time with the boys and doing things that, the crew likes.
Other than Drake, like, who's someone that like reached out to you that you were like, damn, I can't believe this guy's actually.
I remember going to a Mavs game one time, and they were playing the Heat, and LeBron sent somebody to grab me courtside and tell me to go back after the game and meet him. And the funny thing about that was that started a relationship. Just from being at the game that I ended up signing with Maverick Carter, his agent, and was looped into LeBron's, LRMR marketing agency. End up going to Cleveland. Their office is in Akron. So, it started a friendship with those guys that'll last forever too. So I was just randomly being in Dallas on a weekend, hanging out with some friends, going to a game, meet LeBron James.
What's crazy. LeBron say when you go? Like, he sends his boys over there, grab Johnny, bring him back to the locker room.
After the
like,
game?
What's LeBron say when you show up? Like, hey, dude.
Nice to meet you. What's going on? How are things? Just kind of the normal talk, and then from there you kind of feel out, how each person is, and go from there. And we hit it off right away. I remember, getting done with my last game in college. We played the Chick-fil-A Bowl against Duke. Mav comes. I sign with Maverick. We leave. We go straight to Miami. Dinner with LeBron that night, go to a Heat game, drive to the game with him, get out, come back. It was like the whole recruiting process. But in the time, I'm like, 19, 20 years old, and I'm just like, this is insane. And it all happened so fast that I look back on it now sometimes and it's kind of a blur.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I believe that.
So then you go to the draft 2014, you get selected 22nd overall. Were you kind of like, oh, damn, I got to go to Cleveland? Or were you like, all right, this is an opportunity. Let's make the most of it.
I looked at it, and I remember sitting with my boys in College Station, just sitting there kind of looking at the roster. You had Josh Gordon, you had Jordan Cameron, you had Joe Thomas, Alex Mack. You had like really, really good pieces on the team, and they originally had the 4th pick and the 26th pick. So, there's 32 teams in the NFL. One team has 2 picks. They're bound to come around if you're a first-round guy and pick you twice. So I kind of knew going in that my odds were just statistically better for me to go to Cleveland just because they have 2 picks. Would have been a little bit nicer if it was at 4 with a little bit extra signing bonus money. But at the end of the day, sitting in that draft room, in that green room for, 2-3 hours, you always see the clip of Rodgers sitting there kind of watching and waiting to go by. It's how each guy is, right? You all have your expectation that you're the best and you're going to get drafted first and things are going to go, the very, very best they can. And that's not always how it works. So, it was definitely a shell shock. But at the end of the day, I was like, I'm kind of glad the slide was over a little bit, and I was glad to be, going to Cleveland originally.
So I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, and the rumor was that draft that Jerry had your name written on the draft slip. Have you heard that?
I've heard this. I don't know if I can confirm it.
Yeah, I would love to know if that was
me.
extra. I've heard Steven went over.
The story I've heard is that he gave Steven the pick, and it was pretty much his pick. I look back at it like, I don't know if that would have made things go downhill for me quicker or if it would have been, really beneficial having a guy like Tony in the room. Knowing what I know about Tony now and having the relationship with him that I do, I think things could have been different. I didn't have that veteran, presence whenever I was in Cleveland, and it was more hostility a little bit. So that changed kind of my rookie year and how I thought about things. You look back at the boys, though, I think they made a great pick there. They made a guy who's going to be on the team for a long time, who's a beast, Pro Bowler. So, everything kind of shakes and works its way out in the way it's supposed to be. And, at the end of the day, you kind of look back and say, well, good for them that they didn't do it.
And you won, you were Mr. Football in the state of Texas coming out of high school. You won
Actually, you have to speak to me and address me as Mr. Football anyways.
Mr. Football.
Just you, not me.
Okay, yeah, okay. Colt addresses you as master. So you won in high school. You won Mr. Football in Texas. You won the Heisman Trophy. When you're getting drafted into the league, right? Cleveland picks you. I'm sure you won whatever Pee Wee award there was in Kerrville, Texas. You were the best player on every team you've ever been on. When you're going into the league, do you just assume automatically, I've been the best in every team I've ever been on, every league. It's going to be the same way in the NFL.
I don't think you assume it. I think you go out your first day and you realize that these guys are, it's obviously the NFL. You collect the best college players from hundreds of colleges around the world, biggest size. They fit a certain model of what an NFL player is, especially on the defensive end. So I'll never forget there again, one of my first training camps, we, practice against the Buffalo Bills. And we're doing this, center, guard, tackle, little half line, running back drill. One of the ones the quarterbacks are kind of all right, let's go. Let's go throw the ball or do something other than just saying set hut and, handing the ball off and running back. And I remember snapping the ball, handing the ball off and kind of just lackadaisically, just turning out and V'ing out the other way. And Mario Williams comes behind me and goes, and barks. And I'll never forget it being the first instance where I was okay, I look up like this. College locker rooms, you have some guys that are, they're mammoth. They look the part for sure. This guy was just unbelievably freaking big. Just tree trunks for quads, 6'7", 280 pounds. You're just looking at him where do they even make you? A lab? Yeah. I'm 5'11", maybe on a good day on my tippy toes, 205. It's a little intimidating.
Yeah, that would do it. I would think Mario could.
But at the end of the day, I really think if you put a grizzly bear in this room and we're gonna let him go off and we're gonna fight, I'll probably give it a whack.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. How did the people of Cleveland?
I think it's more I got maybe a screw or two loose, but heart. We'll go with heart.
I was trying to say it in a nice way. Yeah,
I'll take the over on 2.
On 1, yeah.
So how did the people of Cleveland kind of accept you? Were you just when you got there? Were you just holy shit, Johnny Manziel mania here, or was it?
Loved me. I was recepted very well in Cleveland when I got there, and I don't have a bad thing to say, about the people and the way the fans and everybody treated me in Cleveland. It was a really cool experience to have people that care that much, even when you're not performing the way you should be on the field.
For sure.
In an ideal world, though, do you go to somewhere not like Cleveland doesn't have the best reputation in the history of the world for developing quarterbacks, right? They got the jersey with the 22 different names on it and all that stuff. In an ideal world, do you go somewhere with maybe an established quarterback you could sit behind him for a year, 2, 3, whatever, and then come in, as opposed to a program or a franchise that's struggling and you got to come in quick? They're begging for you quick.
This conversation, goes a bunch of different ways, right? It's always the what if game kind of at this point. What if somebody else drafted you? What if this? What if I do probably what I'm supposed to do and go back and finish my degree the way my parents would have wanted me to and stayed 2 more years in college? What if then? Is Archie Griffin the only one with 2 Heisman trophies at the end of it after 4 years?
Interesting. Yeah.
I look at it like I could have stayed. It's not like where should I have got picked. I feel like Cleveland would have taken a quarterback that year. If I would have waited another year and came out the next year, Cleveland wouldn't have been on the board for a quarterback. So, or maybe they would have. Who knows with what they do. Nevertheless, it's like, you play the what if game. It could have gone a million different ways. And, it played out the way it did. I felt like it was my best opportunity to be a 6-foot quarterback drafted in the first round of the NFL, which hadn't happened since like Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. And he was drafted in the second. So it hasn't been like a legit, starting quarterback in the league who had gone and flourished other than Brees that was 6 foot. Maybe Michael Vick, and he's one of one.
Do you miss playing at all?
Oh, every day. I think that's why I've gravitated so much towards golf. Gives me the competitive, I don't care anybody in this room. I'll go out and at the end of the day, feel like I can play and have my best day and go have that competition and that drive that I miss from the football side. The camaraderie is probably a little bit better on the on the golf side. We do things outside of just playing, but I think that's the biggest reason why I've dove head into playing golf so much.
Well, you don't want these problems right here.
I'll take every bit of smoke.
You might be able to handle the other people in this room.
You're going to get these problems, though. You're going to get these problems.
I'm playing against a guy who's played on tour, done this. I'm getting strokes, a tee box.
I might turn around and bark in your ear one hole. You never know.
I'll probably crap my pants like I did the first time.
Colt and Mario get a lot of.
They look really similar.
A lot of similarities across there.
Me, Mario Williams, Cliff Kingsbury, we all get mixed up for each other. It's weird.
Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very similar. When you were going through like the comeback and you were slated to play in Canada and all that type of stuff, was it like, were you ever up for that? Like, hey, I'm going to go to Canada, I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to come back to the league and show what I can do? Or was it like, hey, man, I've been at the top of the world. Canada doesn't appeal to me.
I loved Canada. Like, I'll go, I got to see every province, go everywhere. The business side and what the, actual CFL was a little bit ticky-tacky. Probably, a little bit, not what I was used to coming from the Browns, but I loved being back in the locker room again, going through the X's and O's, watching film, doing the whole thing. But 12 guys on the field, it's a different style of football. You get 3 downs. It's just, it's way different. And looking back on it, I regret not listening to, my agent in that sense and going to the AAF and starting there from, training camp to week 1 and doing that for 7 weeks until it folded. And then I think I would have been a lot better off, and it would have been my only chance to ever get back to the NFL. I think if I went and played my contract in Canada for 2 years, I don't think it would have translated and helped me enough to get back to the NFL.
Did you have any opportunities after Cleveland to play in the NFL?
I had a multitude of times where I really thought, this is it. I'm going to get a chance to come back in. Even I was looking for anything as far as practice squad, just get me into a spring football session, cut me, after June, July, whatever it is, and OTAs are done. I just wanted the opportunity to get back in and just kind of grind it out. And I had a couple opportunities that I really thought were going to pan out, and then, it kind of just things go different ways.
Who were the dudes, or if any, that were reaching out to you at these times? Like when you were trying to find a home, right? CFL, NFL, whatever it was. Are there any former or current NFL guys that were reaching out to you like, hey man, let me get in your ear and give you some advice?
Well, the guy who I listened to and would pick up the phone at any point in time and call was Josh McCown. He came in my second year in Cleveland, coming from the relationship I had in the room my first year, to the second year I come in, and Josh McCown couldn't be more chill. East Texas guy, he comes in, he's like, yo, if you don't know something, just ask. If you don't know this, just this. Pretty much was just like, yo, tie a string to my backpack and just follow me wherever you want. Do the same schedule I do, go home at the same time, get here at the same time, and I'll teach you what this whole thing is all about. And, 16, 18 weeks later, whatever it is, after training camp and everything, I really felt like I had been, groomed a little bit and taught, and not just on the field, but off the field as well. He's a guy that, if I could act like more, than I do now, it would be Josh McCown. He's just been one of my favorite people, most relatable people. And I know any point in time on this podcast, whatever it is, you pick up the phone, you call the guy, he's always been there, solid as it gets.
That's awesome. So, other than playing golf 6-7 days a week, what's next for Johnny Manziel? What do you want to do with your life?
I'm kind of at the point right now where I'm just laying low, trying to figure out life like anybody else does at some point in time. One point in time, you're young, you're at the top of the world, you feel like you have all the answers, and then, you look back and it's been, I'm coming up on my, it's been almost 8-9 years since I've won the Heisman. Like, things change, things go on, and right now I'm just trying to enjoy life and find a piece of happiness that I like that puts a smile on my face every day when I wake up, and the rest will work itself out. So, just trying to figure out me, where I like to be, what I like to do, and just get back to the roots a little bit so I can just kind of unwind from, I was in LA for the last 5 years, so unwind from a crazy lifestyle and just kind of get back to figuring out who I am at the Blueprints.
Can you unwind, like you mentioned LA? Like, can you go out in LA and not get hassled? Can you go out here in Scottsdale and not get hassled? Like, is that even a possibility, or is it everywhere you go, people want a piece?
I mean, probably, LA, there's paparazzi and you do the whole thing and they're just looking for any crumbs and anything they can get. Here, I'm going to run into people, no matter if we're going and playing golf or, we're anywhere around town. Like, the chances of me running into somebody that recognized me is pretty high. And then, from there, I've met a lot of great people from it. Really random, it doesn't really matter. So I enjoy the banter I have kind of with people coming up to a certain point, being out and being with the boys, trying to have a good night and dealing with it. It's kind of, there's one way to handle it there, and then there's another kind of in a different setting.
Is that why you got the
mustache
stash right now?
the mustache hides it a
so
little
you could
bit.
be a little incognito?
No, the mustache is because I've been,
'Cause it's clean?
60 days of quarantine. I don't know what else you guys are doing, but things are getting a little weird by
I
now.
started calling you Officer Manziel when it showed up. It looked like a Super Troopers extra.
I don't know if I have to tell you that again, but it's Mr. Football.
Oh,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Football. My apologies. Apologies.
You got
Well,
anything
that's
else, or
good.
do you want to get into the
I got a freaking.
we could do this for
I got a
hours.
million things. Like, what's when people talk about Johnny Manziel, there's a ton of things in the media and stuff. What's the biggest misconception of the average guy out there when he thinks of you?
I mean, I got a good heart. I'm a good dude. The one thing you can ask any of my friends that I hang around with is I'm ride or die, right? If you're in my circle that I keep, for the most part, kind of small, but I treat my boys the right way. I treat people the right way for the most part. I'm human as anybody else is and have my flaws where I'm going to have a bad day and something's going to go wrong. I look back on it the next day, reflect, and try and be better from it going forward. Like, I think deep down I truly am a good person. Listen, I'm 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old with the world at my fingertips, and I raged. Like, sue me. I had a lot more fun going into a nightclub walking out with two girls than I did putting the pads on and going and grinding it out. And the thing that I've learned through time is you get out of the game that you love what you put into it. It's the same thing with golf. It's the same thing with football. If you grind 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever it is, and you go put your head down to it and that's what you focus on, you're destined for success. But the second you start letting everything else on the outside creep in, not to mention letting what comes in on the outside absorb you more than the game that you love, you're headed for failure. So, I've had a lot of time to sit back and reflect, a lot of, things I wish I would have done different. But at the end of the day, like, I have more fun living that like famous lifestyle, going out and doing things with my boys, than I did putting in the work. And, when you look back at it, that's the whole story at the end of the day.
Hold on.
Get out what you put in.
So 2 girls?
Maybe 3.
Go back to the 2, dude. Go back. I want to talk about this.
Hold on, let's
2
get into
girls.
the yeah. Hold on, that's
What
totally
kind of
different
girls?
story.
What hair color?
Like really sweet.
Okay, keep going.
Innocent.
Keep going. All right, I'm with you. I'm
And
following.
just kind of chill.
Don't get
That's it.
sleaze excited.
You have my
That's it.
attention. What else, though? What are they into? All right.
Is that a wedding ring?
Don't worry about that. That's just a decoy.
That's awesome. Is that a wedding ring?
Hey, do you still have the wig from Vegas?
That's
That's
I
the
don't
best
think that
story.
thing
That's
made
the
it out
best
of
story
Vegas.
ever, dude.
I mean, it's probably the end of what ended my, real chance of ever having an NFL career again. But, at the time it was like, I'm injured. I'm dying in the snow and 4 degrees in Cleveland. And, I was kind of like Rodman. I need a break. But it's week 15. I need a break. Like, I need to go. I'm exhausted from getting hit from every angle. It's just, the life, especially being a quarterback in Cleveland, a little bit exhausting just trying to live normal life a little bit. You go to the grocery store, you wake up the next day, you're on TMZ for buying a bottle of wine or whatever it is. So it's, it's definitely nitpicky there. So I was just kind of like, let me get away. Well, knowing what I know now, it's really easy to get like a private plane when you need to be back somewhere, not just flying, coach. So I had this whole thing planned out, go out there in the morning, fly back at like 11 o'clock at night. I'd already spent 7 hours in Vegas. There was 0% chance I was getting on that flight to go back. At that point in time, the thing I could think about the most was just turn your phone off and throw it in a drawer and wear a wig and go to Hakkasan and have a great time.
When during that trip,
did you have a great time?
Yeah, I bet he did.
In the moment, yes.
Sleaze, refill
10:30 on Sunday game day NFL the next morning. I didn't.
So what was
at
that
what
like?
point in that? No, hold on. At what point during that trip where you're in the disguise, like, yo, I'm gonna pop to Vegas real quick here? Did you know like this might not work? Like this is
I was
probably
really really good until Hard Rock blackjack table, $500 minimum. I'll never forget it. I sit down. This guy just next to me sees me throw my ID out to get ID'd and like scoped it on the way going into the dealer's hands. And from there, it was like he doesn't even say anything to me. He gets up and walks to all of his buddies over at like a roulette table. And then from there, it was like I knew it too. I can feel it. By this point in time, like years in, like I can feel when something's like going awry. And it was just like, uh-oh. And it happened to be like a baseball reporter for MLB that sent this tweet out that was credible enough. And I remember, your first instinct is like, I'm not there. What are you talking about? Like,
you sent the dog picture out.
The dog picture on the carpet, Cleveland, Ohio, geotag.
Yes.
This is back in the early when Instagram, like geotag days. But needless to say, it was like it didn't work. Then I go to dinner, promoter puts this whole thing on like Las Vegas blast, and it's all downhill from there. It's funny in retrospect. At the time, it's like,
How did
It's
the
a
coaches
legendary
handle that
story.
when you got back?
my head coach already wasn't vibing with me probably from the day that I walked in the building. Earlier in that year, we have a bye week, go to Austin, stay on the lake with one of my boys. We come into town on a Saturday night, go out, come back, nothing crazy. I get back to Cleveland on Monday. A video comes out of us being out. I got benched from a Monday night football game just from being on my bye week and going out for a night. So, the relationship was already rocky. And, by the end of the season, it was kind of to the point like you go into the meeting with the owner or the coach or whoever it is and kind of like, how many different ways do you guys want to try this to where it's just like this isn't meant to be and this isn't working? So, when I look back at it, deep down, I think I had this rooted just thing inside me that was like, you don't want to be here. How can I sabotage this in any way, shape, or form? And I felt like at the time that I was good enough to go somewhere else and be in the right situation where things would have just gelled right back together. And I don't think any of it was my play. I think the majority of it was the time you put in. It's the difference between going and knowing exactly what the defense is doing when they're in this certain coverage versus going out there and being blind. I think how many different ways are we going to try this before we just find out that it doesn't work? And at the end of the day, they asked me to do very simple things to keep me on for a third year. And I'm just at the point where I'm like, no.
It's very honest.
It's just, yeah. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to come out and be the guy that says, trade me. I don't want to be here anymore type of thing. It had nothing to do with my teammates, Joe Hayden, certain guys on the team, Josh Gordon, like I'll be friends with these guys forever. I couldn't love these guys anymore, but it was just at the end of the day, like as far as my career and my position and what I'm doing, this is, we're spinning our wheels in the mud a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah. Colt has a wig, but it's not because he's trying to be anonymous.
It's because he needs it.
Yeah,
If I had hair, it wouldn't be fair, mother. Yeah.
Oh,
Got it.
almost slipped.
All right, well, let's
You
get to
almost
some.
slipped.
We do this with every guest. We got an emergency nine fun questions. Learn a little bit more about you. We learned a lot about you actually already that I didn't know. All right, so we're gonna go number one. Movie about the life of Johnny Manziel. Who plays it?
Adam Sandler.
Oh, all right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have a pick for him?
I actually did. I was just trying to think of one. And I didn't.
I got one.
Who you got?
Wahlberg. You got to have a dude that's
You
athletic.
really love Mr. Football.
I think.
Well, I think that's a fair pick.
Looks wise, probably like Joseph Gordon-Levitt or something like that. I like Andy Samberg a little bit. Adam Sandler, listen.
Andy Samberg for you?
Happy
Did not see
Gilmore,
none of
Happy
that.
Gilmore, greatest movie of all time. We'll go ahead and
Of
put
all
that
time.
on record.
Wow, of all time.
There's no other way. Maybe like Denzel. Like I'm a young Denzel.
Gary
Woodland
Woodland
said
already
Denzel
claimed
for him.
him, so he's booked for biographies.
Fine, give me Sandler as my first choice.
All right, Sandler. All right, that's fair. That's a good pick. All right, number two. What's the most you've ever played for on the golf course?
Probably like $100,000.
That's real. Where was that?
We do like more group things, right? So you get 5-on-5, 10-on-10, whatever it is, and you kind of pull all of it together. But I go out to Midland every now and then and play against a nice group of dudes who, listen, golf's a little bit different out there. Like they hit these little worm burners that just run forever, and you look and they make birdie at the end of the hole, and you're kind of like, what the heck? What is this?
Midland Country Club.
And they own every
But
oil well in West Texas.
They own every oil well you drive by, and they just like to have a good time. And it gets to the point kind of where it's just like, let it ride. At the end of the day, I doubt you can sweep me all the way through. I doubt I can sweep you all the way through. We'll meet somewhere in the middle, and we'll figure it out.
I like it. All right.
That's real. 100 racks.
100
That'll
real.
do it.
Number three.
$5 will make it tickle. Let's go. Like
No, it
any
won't.
dollar.
Now we're talking.
I take $5 from you. I guarantee you, I frame it, put it into my game room.
Well, you're down a little bit right now from Whisper Rock. Just
Don't.
so you know.
Don't worry about anything.
Yeah. All right. Number three. Favorite and least favorite tattoo you have.
You're my least favorite.
Oh, I have I'm tattooed on
Favorite
you.
tattoo. I kind of like the dog bone the most. My dog has been a rider through my second year in Cleveland. I've had him for 5 years. Been through everything. Took him everywhere. Every trip. Miami to Vegas to wherever it is. Went everywhere. True soldier. So, favorite is probably the dog bone. Least favorite. Well, I was married at one point. We'll leave it at that.
Okay,
Okay,
got it.
that's self-explanatory. Got
it.
I did see an Instagram once of you getting a tattoo on a PJ, and I immediately thought to myself, like, hey, dude, there's still turbulence on a PJ. Did you ever think of
I
that?
tattooed the mustache.
Was that the mustache one? Okay. I thought it was on the forearm, but I was like, a bump can happen still on a PJ, even though it's still way better than Coach.
I mean, I probably one of those things that I saw on Instagram and thought was really cool and was like, oh, I need to go do that.
I'll do that. It'll show him a beast.
I'm not that original.
Okay, respect. All right, that's very honest. All right, number 4. If your boys, as we discussed, your boys with Drake. If you could have Drake put the Drake curse on any franchise, who do you want him to put the curse on? He's known for making some teams slip into, some L's.
Well, just to back the boy up a little bit. The Raptors did take the championship.
That's
with
true.
him on the
He's
side,
trying to-
so I don't know if it's a curse, but if I had to put a curse on one team, this is super easy. It's the University of Texas. I hope they never have another winning season for 1,000 seasons.
God bless you.
Perfect. That's fair.
Correct
enough.
answer.
I don't like the answer, but it's your
It's
answer.
1,000 points.
Your opinion's your opinion.
Yeah, just like Brooks.
Yep. All right. Number 5. You have to choose one of these. You play in the CFL for the next year, or you're Drew Stoltz's personal assistant for a year. Which one do you want to do?
I got some things that need to be done, bro.
Send me back to the CFL. We were in the
Sorry,
building.
Sleaze,
We
I
were in
tried.
the building at 9 a.m. We were back home by 1. Like, it doesn't get
He
any
needs
more
an
chill.
Annie
than
No,
right
I
that.
got a
too.
lot of shit that needs to be done.
If I have to
It
go
ain't-
look for his golf balls that he hits, like in the
Oh.
woods, like just on the side, that's bad enough.
He
Like,
did just get fit from True Spec though.
Yeah, I got a new driver. You're going to be very pleased with what you see.
thing I will say about True Spec, it's as solid as it gets.
Yes.
Like, come on now.
Good
like
shout
it.
out.
I mean-
Good shout out for the brand right
I mean,
there.
it's true. I watched a buddy of mine go in there, get fitted for a putter, comes back out the next couple of weeks, he's rolling the rock. Like, it's just, this putter fits. I wouldn't have been for me, but it is what it is. So I know what they're doing.
Yeah, that shit matters. It's crazy when
I'm saying
you
this
don't realize how
because he
bad your
probably
stuff-
had the worst putting week I've ever seen in my life, but I definitely agree with the technology.
when he came back, he was right.
He was right. When he came back, he was right. He went, he had the spider. We were all Team TaylorMade around here in our group for the most part. So he comes back, he's got the Seymour, rolling the rock. True spec putter fitting.
That's what I'm planning on happening to me.
I can't wait to
when
see
I get
it.
my new gear. I'm gonna be a new dude.
I'm just trying to
You
get
have it
some
ready for
mirrors.
that big-
I'm just trying to get some mirrors.
You have it ready for that big match we got against Johnny and
that's
P.I.
coming.
Nello.
The world will know. That's
Listen, this thing
pay-per-view.
has been put on
Well, you
hold
keep
and
dodging us. You keep
postponed.
going out on boats and stuff.
You keep going to L.A. and the Bahamas.
My horse is ready. We'll
Okay.
put it that way.
Your horse is a mini horse. He's a colt, man. I got a thoroughbred.
Maybe we can get your your location off Snapchat like Earl Thomas's wife.
Oh.
We'll track you down.
Man,
We'll track you down.
don't.
I'll share you my location. You can get the smoke anytime you want.
No Earl Thomas
I
talk.
love it.
All right, number 6. You've been mentioning a lot of them, but I need your favorite rap song where your name is brought up.
Probably Scheming Up, Drake and Obi. I mean, it's probably one of my favorites. It's a classic. It's a SoundCloud classic. I have better music on my SoundCloud than I do like Apple Music or anything that comes out now. Like since like the Carter 3, the old Drought, Lil Wayne days, like I've been like assembling like a nice old school like rap collection, and that for some reason makes it in there. Love it.
Yeah, that's going way back. I thought
The Draft Day story, I mean, the Draft Day
I thought
song, I
would be the
mean,
one.
it blew me away. I remember him FaceTiming me in the middle of the night, like waking up, seeing he plays this song. I'm just like shocked. Couldn't believe, meeting this guy off buying hoodies off a website, go to Toronto, become friends. You look back a year down the road, the song comes out. It's just like, it's bizarre. It's not anything
That's
you
never
can
gonna
make
happen.
up.
You could have a whole
Sleaze.
playlist though of songs with your name in it. 'Cause
Maybe.
it was going
Oh, we were hot for a while, Coach.
going real strong for a minute. You
Mr.
could have
Football was
12.
hot.
You could have 12, 15 tracks easy on that playlist.
I mean, I was getting tired of me at one point.
Is that right?
I'm
I'll
just
never
like,
know what that
let me
feels
just
like.
let me just hide for a
It's
while.
hard to believe, dude.
I just
All
wanted
right,
to hide.
number 7. Stop it, you two. All right. You got almost 2 million followers on Instagram. What's the most ridiculous DM you've ever received?
Ooh, hello. Not Colt asking you to golf. Something else. Hey, dude, big fan.
Hey, by
you
the
wanna
way-
tee it up?
Hey
Yeah.
man,
Hey, dude, I heard you moved to Scottsdale. I was hoping we could hang. I got a number 2 jersey at my crib.
I mean, this isn't even like, I don't even know if this is a question. This is like daily, every single day. There's something in my DMs that'll like blow your mind that you wouldn't even like
incredible.
imagine. It's not that in a positive way. It's like most of the time, guys being really, really weird. Like
Oh, it's
Instagram
guys, I was disappointed.
is a funky place. I try and shy away from it as much as I can these days.
Yeah, you're lay low right now. I respect that. All right, next question. NFL or college? I'm open up to that. Dude, you were most scared of getting hit by? You might have already answered it.
No, probably Clowney, like in college or something. That guy knocked that dude's head off at
Yeah,
Michigan.
literally.
His helmet goes like rolling. It's just like, kidding me? I'd rather sit in front of, his Tahoe or whatever, sitting out front, and just smack me with it rather than that guy.
It was
He's a
like the Little
refrigerator.
Giants where
Hey, he's a refrigerator with legs.
it's a yeah.
What are you supposed to do?
That's not as shocking. Yeah, that would.
I mean,
There's a
he
lot
was
of dudes, I
scary
would
in
think.
college. He had these dreads. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I ran into Vontez Burfict on in Old Town the other night. That's like another guy that I would
Ooh.
not
You
want
saw
to
what he
meet
did to
in the
Antonio
streets of.
Brown.
He's scary.
Dude. He turned
Yeah.
Antonio Brown into a friggin'
I mean, he's got like
lunatic,
the
bro.
most suspensions in NFL history.
Yeah.
He had these
He's-
dreads. You look over you and drool. It's like, I'm crazy, but that's a.
Yeah, he's out for
nuts.
something else.
He's
Yeah.
nuts.
All right, last one. This is a tough one. Who pays better, Direct Auto or Texas A&M boosters?
I'm gonna give a big shout out to all my autograph dealers out there that I've dealt with since
There you
fun
go.
time.
Perfect.
That makes
the
sense.
the A&M, love them to death. They've been, definitely a source of income, but those autograph dudes, man, come on. At the
You
end of the
work
day, people come up and walk up to you, want you to sign something. I'm like, yo, I know you're selling this for $150. Give me $40. Let's cut it.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Well, we're not going to pay you to sign this wall when we're out of here, just so you know.
Yeah,
You
you
know
are
I'm
gonna
not-
sign
this is like a pleasure.
I love it. Man,
Say something. One nice thing about the NCAA. Quick.
They finally got it right, and the fact they're gonna pay players.
Okay.
I mean, they're finally coming around to the point where they know their structure is in dire need of change. It's been this way for a long time, right? Like, there's certain players that transcend the game and transcend the media and marketing and everything it is. Zion, for example. Why shouldn't Zion be able to have $5 million sitting in his dorm room in college? He's that lit. He deserves it. I would have made more money my freshman and sophomore year. I would have stayed. Junior, senior year, I would have made more money in college than I would have ever thought about making in pro football. And, it's just to the point where these schools, are making money off of it. And, they're finally getting to the point where, hopefully the likeness and all this, it'll definitely change college football landscape for a long time. Probably basketball a little bit too. But that's the best thing I'll say is they're finally coming around to knowing that they're backed into a corner and they can't fight their way out of it anymore.
It's nicer than I thought what you were going to say.
Well, it's not fun to see guys who are legit, you get one shot. You get one chance. Your life is one single roll. You get one shot to do things the right way. Maybe you get another one. Maybe you don't. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, to watch a guy, a situation that played out in Memphis in basketball last year, number one guy coming out of high school, can't play, suspended, the whole deal. It's like, for what? For a company that just came out and was going to lose, March Madness not happening this year, lost them $800 million. Where does that money go to? What do they do with that? Does that come back and, add to the guys who have boosted these TV ratings and deals and everything else? It's like you can't be a nonprofit organization doing that, making that much money, acting like people are in the wrong because I'm come from a terrible situation and I need this X amount of money just to get by and survive.
It's fair enough, man.
It doesn't make sense. So I think, the nicest thing you say is they're coming around to getting in their own grave.
And Direct Auto needs to pay more.
Direct Auto's legit,
You're incredible.
You ever been to Nashville?
You wear that red
Love
suit again,
Nashville,
dude. They're gonna
Based in Nashville. The second they said they were based in Nashville, I'm like, when can I come for 2 days?
Well, Johnny, man, this has been an absolute pleasure. We really appreciate you.
No, all
sitting
love.
down with us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you,
me.
man.
I know I'm not the, typical golfer you guys have sitting here, but I'm coming for you.
You're the up and coming.
Bring it,
golfer.
Johnny. I
for
love
you.
it. Thanks for joining us on Golf Subpar.
Thanks, fellas.
Sleazy, I mean, it's hard for me not to say that was not my favorite interview we've done so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to get guys outside of the world of golf, but to get a guy that's had as unique an experience as Johnny Manziel, I mean, he may be one of one. I don't think there's anybody that's really gone through exactly what he went through, and hearing him tell it firsthand. I mean, dude, when he's talking about after the Alabama game, he no longer was able to attend class at A&M. It's like too much of a zoo, too much of a circus. He was just bombarded by people. Like, how many college kids have ever had that same, like, he was getting shuttled with cops to class, and then like, you know what, just take all your classes online. It's too much of a distraction for the rest of the campus. Like, dude, that's crazy level stuff.
I mean, Cliff Kingsbury told me this was his term. He goes, Johnny Manziel, when he was at Texas A&M, was like Bieber in his prime.
Yeah, I believe
He goes, it was insane. He goes, the guy walked on campus and the place freaked out. He goes, he had the world at his fingertips, and to compare him to Justin Bieber, I mean, that's
top
pretty
level.
unreal, but very cool. I mean, and it also worked out great considering The Last Dance right now, how Rodman had to get away, go to Vegas, enjoy it. Our own Johnny Manziel had to get away, had to go sneak away, threw on a wig.
A little clip to Vegas.
No
you
big
know
deal.
what I mean? Nobody. Who am I hurting? You know what I mean? Just need to blow off a little steam. But like, I think it's so easy to come in with preconceived notions of Johnny, right? Like you think you know him, you see what you see on TV. But I thought his interview today, like, he's so honest. He didn't blame a single person for anything. He took all the blame, and I think it's easy to be like, can't believe that kid. Can you believe what he did? He partied his way out of the league or whatever. Like, you tell me if you're 20 years old and you got the world by the balls and infinite money and infinite fame. I did some pretty dumb shit when I was 20 and I had nothing. There was no eyeballs on me. I had no money, no fame. I got to imagine if I had what he had and everybody else did, you might do some stupid stuff too.
I totally agree with you on that. And I hate when people come at these young kids and they're like, oh, I can't believe he'd act like that. He's so lucky. He's all this. I'm like, first off, that kid had no idea what was going on in his life. He came from a small town in Texas where he was a good football player, but no one knew who he was. After one game, the whole world knew who he was.
I mean, he was getting shouted out in rap songs and things like that. You tell me as a 20-year-old how you would handle that.
Exactly.
There's no class on how to handle this stuff. There's no like, here's the playbook to handling massive fame as a 20-year-old. You just do it and you go as it comes, and it got to be pretty hard when some of that stuff's being floated in front of you to say no to it. Like, I would never try to judge a dude that's had like the success and the fame that he's had, because like very few people on planet Earth ever get to that level.
He is one of the most criticized people I've ever come across in sports. And you and I took him out to Whisper Rock a few weeks ago and played golf with him. And I tell everyone, I was like, this kid is so misunderstood.
Yes.
He is so polite. He is so nice to everyone. I mean, anyone that was a member came up, introduced themselves to Johnny. A couple people took pictures. He couldn't have been nicer. I mean, I respect the kid a lot. I couldn't thank him enough for taking the time to come join us and just how open and honest he was.
Yeah, I hope he changed like a lot of minds for people that listen to that right there, just about how he is. First time we played golf with him, I would like miss a green, chip up, and here he is holding my putter and my other wedge, like handing it to me. You know what I mean? Like just stuff you wouldn't expect from, you know, a celebrity or somebody that, you know, people think, you know,
Not from someone who asked you to call them Mr. Football.
right. That's understandable. But dude, we've gotten to know him a good bit over the last few weeks or whatever. I got nothing but great things to say about him. He's been awesome
It
to
was a
every
blast.
single person I've seen him interact with.
That was by far one of my most fun interviews we've done. But next week, we're going back to golf. And a man who was the favorite at the Scottsdale Open and favorites in our heart,
Yes.
Mr. Joel Damon, is going to be joining us.
One of the best interviews in golf. Funny dude, candid dude, doesn't really hold any punches. It's going to be another fun one next week. We dig into a little bit of his history on the Jickeys and how he came to be the Joel Damon everybody knows right now. And also a little Sung Kang talk, obviously.
Well, as you
Had
have
to.
But if you don't know who Joel Damon is, you're going to after next week's episode. Stay tuned for more Golf Subpar.